Good evening, everyone. Pete Yapel, host of the Voluntary Option. It's Wednesday night. I've got my coffee. I've got my cannabis. Next thing I need is your attention. That's all. Pay attention to us for the next hour. We're trying to inform you a little bit here and get you up to date on some of the things happening going on around, my local area. And I constantly am on here preaching localization and involvement of community and how community is important and how that's where true governing belongs. And those involved in the community should be making those decisions. And let's be happy today that we have troops coming home that should have never been over there to begin with. You can have your opinion. I have mine. I don't believe that we should be fighting a war anywhere outside our own borders, except to protect our own borders. And, for someone to try that would be probably I think I'm having a bit of trouble today, guys, with my feed. And if I am, I do apologize in advance. But I've got campers on my property, because we've opened up our property now to hip camp and to boondockers, tenters, and there's another one. I can't remember the name of it. Harvest Hope, I guess, is another one. For anybody that just needs a place to stay, man, we've got the land, we've got the availability. We try to share what we have because we're grateful for it. And, if you can help people out and you get to meet people and, share our views, this has been the biggest thing with us, that we've had the opportunity not only to speak about cannabis, but to speak about, what's going on in the world around us, people's concerns, and listening to what others say. And, vaccinations being one of them, with Johnson and Johnson now, with their small percentage of people just dying or having something happen to them physiologically to possibly impose death later on. And they go, well, the numbers are small. All right, well, fine. Those are the ones that had immediate reaction. How do we know how many of this is going to happen down the road? And, and then they put on the news, all these injection sites of how Arizona's leading the way. And I've been past these places are empty. They're not booming and full, folks. They're trying to trick you, bamboozle you, and continue to drive this stuff home. And again, if we made these decisions locally, and, listen, am I anti-mask? Am I pro-mask? I don't care what you do. That's you. You do what you want to do. I don't care. And businesses, I can choose where I want to shop. If a business is going to oppose a mask mandate and I choose that I don't want to wear a mask, I'll just shop elsewhere. And, it's not a very difficult thing to adjust to, folks. It shouldn't be made to pit us against each other, to hate each other. And a lot of that's what is going on. We're being pitted against each other. So again, community strong. And that's why I kind of have the guest I have on today. The guest I have on today is from Arizona and is from the same county that I'm from. And we're hoping to drive some, some membership to this, and we're hoping to drive some, to let others know in other communities. It doesn't have to be just our county. How simple it truly is to get us like-minded people together and finally do something to make some positive change in the environment around us. And I kind of like to too. Tonight we're going to discuss HB 2111, which is a Second Amendment bill that was passed here in Arizona, and I want to talk about that. But I want to talk about improvements, and like how we can improve this, and and give not just the libertarians opposition to things and favoritism towards things, but like if what we could do to make it better, how our view may look to make this bill a little bit better, and a little bit more free, and then mimic a bit more of what was truly written in the beginning. But was written in the beginning. I seem like I'm talking about the Bible, but it's not the Bible, folks. And it was just a set of guidelines that we all kind of agreed were pretty fair and just, and gave us the opportunity to live a life which we could pursue some happiness and, and live in a sense where there's liberty and let's not get into justice because that system's a whole nother mess. But again, localization and bringing things to community and trying to get things, where it truly affects us, and where it affects us and how we live directly. And that there is what is important to me. I believe that if we can bring that sense of community in, then we will have some kind of victory. And with that said, I'm bringing in Alex. It looks like he's adjusting his camera and such right now. But I wanted to bring Alex on. Hey, Alex, how are you tonight, man? I'm sorry for the, believe me, I'm not technically sound, brother. That's one thing you'll never find in this old man. So I'm not really technically sound when it comes to, working these things. But I used to have a producer, but he's been so busy. I don't even bother him no more. I just let him do his thing, and I try to handle it on my own. But yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on. And like I said, I've been trying to stress a lot the sense of community and the sense of localized government and how we should be the ones determining what set of rules and such that we live by. And I want to kind of get your take on that. And don't you believe that that's a better sense of living than living amongst this whole blanketed rule that we're imposed upon us?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely one that believes that everything should be voluntary. That if it's forced, then it's not really freedom. And the way that a lot of things are set up these days are they're very they are very controlling over our lives. There have been a lot of instances over the last several decades where we've exchanged a lot of our rights for privileges, and we give away our rights for government granted privileges, and then we're leaving our children to pay for it. So I would like, and it's part of what I work for in the Libertarian Party is
right.
Part of what brought me.
I see that a lot with us relinquishing. We relinquish rights. Go ahead.
Oh, I think there's a delay here. I'm not sure who was.
I don't know if he's frozen or if I'm frozen at this moment. He might be frozen. Anyway, well, once Alex can join us back in, I'll bring him right back. Here is it looks like he may be back, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm here. I can hear you. I just wasn't sure who had the delay there, but.
Yeah. That unfortunately, I'm gonna have it too. Like I said, I've got campers out on my property, and until I can figure out the solution off grid to be able to provide them with some kind of internet or cell service, even because we don't even have that really out here. It kind of sucks my stream, and I do apologize. I do apologize for that.
Sorry.
Wholeheartedly. But I agree with you. A voluntary system, again, the voluntary option. I agree 100% with what you're saying.
And I was saying that what really got me into the Libertarian Party was fighting for my kids, basically. I wasn't really involved in politics until they threatened to take my kids away over cannabis. And so kind of lit a fire under me in a way. And since that point, I've, that's really what I wanted to advocate for. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, our judicial system is nothing but a mess. Victimless crimes are punished exorbitantly compared to those that actually are criminal acts, where there's an actual victim there, where someone has some kind of pain caused to them. And cannabis in general, I mean, My wife and I have marched the country, spoke at the UN, and done everything you can for the plant, and still do at this point in time. To offer people alternative, holistic, solutions to their healthcare, and to me, it's a no-brainer. And I've never understood why something that could grow from the earth could be such a, so controlled by the government. Ultimate goal during pretty much my lifetime has been the degradation and the destruction of family, where we don't have meals together and we don't have those gatherings, and we're forced to try to be, now we're even forced to try to be separated or only gather with a certain amount. And to me, it's all but it's evident. I can remember growing up, like every weekend was with my grandparents, and they all drank. Believe me, man, it was an Italian family. They'd be up playing pinochle, drinking liquor all night long after dinner. And we never felt unsafe or threatened or whatever else. So I believe, again, what people do in the privacy of their own home, as long as they're not hurting nobody else, it's just what they do in the privacy of their home, as long as they're not hurting anybody else. So I feel bad for you, and I'm sorry about the troubles you went through. Were you able to work out those issues with the courts, with the kids, or are you still fighting that battle?
Oh yeah, it worked out really, and was able to get custody back of my kids very, very fast. So yeah, I've
my delay
first,
is like real long today.
It's not
guys. I really do. I apologize to Alex too. I've been wanting to have him on the show for a month now. We've been playing tag. But once he can come on in again, and once I can start getting him through my feed, it's not him, it's my feed that's having the problem broadcasting him. But this goes on more and more every day. The more I see it, I as an advocate for many things, and in working on the Kokesh campaign, I got very close to a gentleman named Chris Cole, who I think he's running for Senate in North Carolina. It was mayor at one time, I know, but of his town, but I think he's upped his ante and is now running for senator. But he's got Victims of Family Law, Victims of Family Law. I think that's the name of Victims of Family Law, and he's not with cannabis, but he's going through the same kind of issue. Right, he keeps popping in and out, man. I can't even get my comments to load on my thing. I believe my feed is just really lagging that much today, guys.
Are you able to hear me?
I apologize for it. I just don't know what I can possibly do at this point in time other than just keep on going on with the show. When Alex can join me, he can. Man, I'm more than happy to hear. I have him on because I want to hear what he's got to say. But yeah, like I said, Chris Cole, he's got some good things going. So if you're having an issue, that's a group you can reach out to on Facebook, or somewhere that you can reach out to on Facebook to, because most people are on Facebook. I think he's on Twitter too, and I think he's also on Instagram and things like that. Take a moment to thank FSM, Free Speech Media, for having our show on Trovo, and we're going to be going back again to, I believe, to D Live, which D Live, I hope you join us on D Live as well. There it's kind of like a Bitcoin exchange kind of thing as far as what goes on there on some of the shows. We're going to be doing movie nights on there. We are also too looking for interns for FSM. If you're interested, I will try to find the link and I'll post it in the comments back on. We were talking about HB 2111. It is a bill here in the United States, not by federally written laws, and a lot of it has to do with ghost guns right now. Why? Because there's a lot of guns. Now this is something I want to bring up to people that I think that there might be a little bit of a misconception about, and I don't understand why there should be. But guns are not like a unicorn. They're very easy to find. Gun permit and carry. With. Okay. So, or to begin with, and they're not, what are they going to do about it but fill out a report? And it's never going to get traced back to where it needs to go anyway. So what the hell is the difference if a serial number's grinded off or they're not, in my opinion? A serial number ain't going to protect you. I get people's concerns. There's a lot of people killed out there with weapons. But again, there's a lot of people killed out there. There's a lot of people killed out there that by legal guns. Like let's just watch the news every single day and see how many victims there are to legal guns that are out there, and they're carried by people that wear uniforms that are supposed to be there protecting the people they're shooting. So we've got to come a long way further than worrying about just whether a number is. And then again, what do we care anyway? I mean, but I can't remember who it was, but somebody had brought up the point, well, then why don't we go to like other nations, like, where like the police don't carry guns? Then we don't have to. Well, what are you kidding me? We live in a country where was allowing people to have a gun, man. Like if you think it's the second thing that they put on the list was, hey, you got the right to have a gun in your house because take over your stuff or whatever else, like it's not written in the Constitution. Hey, Second Amendment's here so people go out and do mass murders. No, that's not what it's written for. But what it is written for is for you to have the right to have it to protect yourself. And believe me, if there's ever been a time where we have faced finally in 200 and almost 50 years of sitting around and watching our government destroy everything around it, that's been good. And a point I'll bring up about Alex, because I still can't get this thing to connect. I don't know what's going on now. I'm just going to shut it and I'm going to go on with the show. But the thing that gets me, or one of the things that Alex had said, and that I try to identify sometimes, because I identify, and I'm not talking about sexually at this point in time, but how I identify politically and identify as a volunteerist. I believe that, like, if there's not any real true voluntary contract to be involved in something, then you shouldn't be involved in it, and you shouldn't be imposed upon you. You own you. It's the only thing you really truly own. And unfortunately, when you're born, you kind of, or that's kind of sold into slavery too, by acquiring a social security number, a birth certificate, and the rights to the government to now collect all the money that they've wasted years and years before, and decades before your birth. Now you're responsible for, another thing Alex had mentioned was the fact of how they buy us, and these stimulus checks are just that, extensions of unemployment, and those are, well, how are we going to eat? Well, just to open this shit back up. I mean, or hell, they got more people working from home now than they've ever had, which to me is detrimental too. I mean, the whole, listen, I can remember going to school in elementary school. School was different when I was in school because you actually learned something. You might not have learned everything the right way, but you learned something other than learning how to pass a test like these children are taught today. But the thing about it was, it was, especially even when it came to getting a job when you got out of school, was an employer's going to look and say, if you can't just go to school even and get through that, what are you going to be worth for me? What are you going to do for me? And that was the whole thought process as I was growing up, my generation, and whatever else. And through school, you learn this, you're trained into this and conformed into this regiment of sorts, but your day is spent away from your domicile and then back home. Okay. So, you're kind of trained to go to work from the time you enter the system of the educational system. They're really training you to say, well, listen, from this day forth, you're going to go for this many hours somewhere and dedicate this much stuff. Now, when you get to a certain age, we're going to reward you a little bit by giving you some money, but don't worry, we're going to take some of that money back. Why? Because you owe it to us. We're letting you do it to begin with. So as they extort us and take our money and taxes and whatever else, and throw it around and do whatever they want to do with it instead of what should be being done with it. I love the whole, who's going to build our roads thing. Should I live out off grid, man? There's roads built here by cattle for centuries. They walk the same road. They walk the same path. They've got a trail. They eat the same cows, for Christ's sakes. They don't live that long, but they know. And why? Because the roadway's there for them. And why? Because they plowed it and built it themselves. I mean, you want to go somewhere, you drive there. That's how we do it out here. I came out here, I had 10 barren acres of land. Heck, I got a driveway with a loop circle, wrap around the house road that goes out, leads out, 2 freaking rows of road built for campers and trailers to pull in and park in. And none of that was here. And it didn't take the government to do it. Didn't take the government to do it at all. But here's something else that sits and strikes home with me so much when it comes to that theft and when it comes to that, like that taking of what you've claimed legally. Okay, I claimed this property legally by paying it for it. I claimed the domicile in which I'm staying in the same exact way, legally, by purchasing it from someone who this is what they did for a living. They made them, I bought them for them. Now, I want to do anything out here, improve on anything, help. I want to have an address out here. I got to pay the government for permission to have that for my land. And then if I want to do something on my land, I have to pay the government permission, zoning shit, pay the government permission for me to be able to do something, erect something, make my life better. Hey, stop it, guys. Come on. My puppies. Sorry about that. I've got to pay permission for something that I own. I got to pay them permission to do something that they have no business in. Again, do we ever own it? No, I'm renting it until I die. That's all I'm doing. Rent it till I die. Why? Because if I don't pay taxes, my lease expires. I mean, honestly, and is it a grievance tax to me? Absolutely, man. I grieve every time I got to pay, but it's minimal. But minimal to me is still too much. If I've got to pay for permission for something that I supposedly own, I'm watching the news yesterday. I don't watch the news, but I seen a headline to the news come on across the thing that said, in order for, I forget what college it is, university here it is in Arizona, or for the students to come back, they have to be vaccinated. Now, that's wrong, man. That's wrong. I mean, can they say that? Yeah, of course, it's their entity. Again, you don't want it, don't shop there, But all these kids that have had dreams to go and get this education from this grand, poopa that they believe is going to give them, never-ending knowledge and a foot up in life. And come on, you're getting yourself into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. You're going to get out of work. You're going to find yourself sitting in the same COVID position that everybody else has, as this government continues to hold us down, suppress us, and hold us back from flourishing and opening up and being able. And they distract us with the border problems, and they distract us with this. Listen, there's been border problems in this country since this country's been a country. Okay, if you want to call them problems. Okay, why are they a problem to begin with? We all got in here the same way. I'd take you down to the Yavapai or over to the Apache or over to I don't know how many other tribes I got around here, but I could take you right on over there and they could tell you. They could tell you how we did the same thing in the name of freedom and in the name of this, that, and the other. No. We're no different. But now that we got it and it's ours, we're like, oh, no, you can't play on my playground. Why? What's the difference? People want a better life. There's plenty to do here. I promise you that. We could hire shit. You know how many people we could hire to clean this place, first of all? Pick up all the trash that's floating around. You don't know who you are bringing across that border. I always say, you don't know who you're bringing to rape versus murders. These are kids we're talking about, for Christ's sake, most of the time. That's what the crisis is about. We're sitting back wondering why we've got these children sitting in pens like dogs in a freaking kennel. And calling it humane and calling ourselves the greatest nation in the world. And we're doing all that stuff. And we're wondering, there ain't nobody wondering about it, right? Nobody. I wish that people would take people in like I do on a daily basis, man. These people ain't down and out, mind you, either, man. They're great people. I mean, they own RVs and stuff. They're probably better off than I am. But still, man, to pay exorbitant amount of prices, like $60, $70 a night, just to park your ass to sleep in a free country? Come on, man. Ask a boondocker what they pay to stay on my property. $0. They don't pay anything. Pay nothing. Now, have people been nice enough that they know what we do here? Are they, they understand that we own a company, and do they pay? Some of them have paid for classes just to sit in for an hour, a $30 hour education on CBD and the benefits of it, and how it relates to human physiology and endocannabinoid system. I mean, it's valuable knowledge, man. And do we charge? No, but people are gracious enough to donate. But that's life, and that's how all could be all over the place. But, I see this big rush on, it was in the Middle East, I believe, or in Africa, one of the two, where they've 3D printed this clay home, separate home. Listen, I had Stacy Pressman on my show last week, and Daniel Donnelly literally asked the question, what about 3D homes? What about 3D homes for the homeless in New York City? Wouldn't that be a part of a solution? Well, listen, we already got enough homes that are there that are already 3D that don't need to be printed. And we got a city that gives money to tyrants and to tyrannous people that squabble away every single dollar before it even makes it to do any good. So why don't we just redirect that and get rid of half of the commissions that they've got there, and let's put these things under one thing. You don't need that many people. Do they ever hear the expression, too many chefs royal to ruin the soup or whatever, frickin' hell, ruin the broth? or whatever it is, but it's the truth. That's what's wrong with our government. What's wrong with our government is that it's just so giant. It's so giant. And those that don't have a government title are still government involved by lobbying and who we can bring in where our interests lie. And they're who's running you, and that's who's ruling you. That's who's telling you what's good for you. That's who's making the decisions for you. That's the people that are sitting back and saying, I know better about you than you know about yourself. And you will accept it for a $2,000 check. We all don't need $2,000 checks, folks. We don't. People go, well, you do. You take it to all goods. Who doesn't take their $2,000 check? I mean, you're paying it back anyway. You're responsible to pay it back. They've made you responsible. They've made you responsible to pay back a check for something that is as common as the cold, will always remain as common as the cold. And not only that, are forcing you to change yourself by being injected with something that has not been tested in any way, shape, or form to the point of where it should be before it was injected into the, stop it, Lily, into the first human being. But the first human being. Yet everybody rushed out, ran out in a state of panic. And now you hear about Brazil, another strain. Well, it's going to keep happening, folks. It's called a virus. It mutates just like the flu does every single year. That's why you need a new shot every year. And that shot's 3 years behind the current strain. So COVID will be just another thing. But what are the side effects? And what are those things that, how is it going to alter you or bother you in the future? We don't know. We don't know. People yell at me, oh, you're anti-vax. I'm anti this vax. I mean, I'm not, how can you be pro it? When COVID numbers have been expressed and people said, well, such a small amount of people actually truly die from this. We got told, well, that's one too many. Well, then why, when they create a vaccine that kills you, and no matter what the percentage is that just, well, their numbers are so, that's just so irrelevant that it's not. It's double talk, hypocrisy, and a way to stick it to you. Anyone that dies, any life that's taken from us that isn't just from something natural, and COVID death is natural, folks. It's just survival of the fittest. If you don't take care of yourself and who you are going to be more susceptible. You are. And those of us that are susceptible, such as myself, I've got a list of illnesses that fall underneath that blanket that tell me I should have had this thing and died from it. Well, you don't. Not if you protect yourself the right way with vitamin D, with zinc, with cannabis, please. Please, I implore you. We cannot any longer allow ourselves to fall victim to the fact that, yes, we're fighting something that is out there that can kill you. It can. It can kill people. No one's ever denied it even those that have been opposed to masks and those that have been opposed to quarantining and separatism. All of us, we're not saying it doesn't kill people. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that the design of the fear that's been instilled upon you over something that will kill you if it's gonna and not kill you if it's not isn't something that we should entertain any longer. That we should listen. We live here. We live in one of the tourist capitals of the world, right on 66. But the birthplace is Route 66, Seligman, Arizona. There are people from all over the place that come here and have been since the beginning of this. Now, people from all over were that contagious and we're going to spread it. We would have this. We would have people sick here. We don't. We don't. Yeah, all situations are different. If you live in a city that people live on top of each other, yeah, you're going to spread it, of course. Come on, man. But that's your choice to live with someone living over you, under you, and on sides of you. That's your choice to live in a whole house. If you don't live in that situation, apartment box thing, in a house where you've got 15 foot of front or a 15 foot of side property on each side of you. Because you live in, and my house looks like your house neighborhood. That they're your choices. And if you choose to live there, then you're upping your chances. But again, it's voluntary. I've chose to live almost as far away from people as I possibly can. With still having neighbors. Don't get me wrong, I have neighbors. And I have people on my property, campers. It's not like I don't want people around. I don't want a lot of people around me. And the days I have no one around me, I'm probably the happiest. There's only one person I have to have around me, and that's my wife. But if I choose, and I have to at times, like just yesterday, was it? Yeah, yesterday. Me and my wife went to Kingman. And Kingman, isn't a city comparable like New York or even Phoenix or anything like that. But it's what we got around here that's got population. Okay, and we went there. We spent the whole day there yesterday buying supplies for the property to fix some things and finish some work that's going on as we await arrival of our daughter that's coming in to visit. And we were out there and we were around. We talked with people. That's it. But then it's just a taste, man. It doesn't have to be your life or how you live. But that's the freedom I chose. Again, so this is all just voluntary. But if I make that choice to live that way, I don't need the shit that's imposed upon those that live in a box, or those that live in the cookie cutter, or those that even live on spots where you do have a suburb that has an acre of property or whatever else. That's good. That's good. And believe me, at the very least, you should have that. There's no, and this is another thing. I mean, it goes down the whole tax line and this whole political, craziness of where you live, what the dirt costs. Like California, New York, shit, you can't buy an acre of land. You can't buy an acre of land if you're just a regular guy, and then do something with it like I'm doing. You can't. And that's unfortunate. Why? Because if that's where you love to live via environment and, and escape and all of this, if that's what you love to live in, why shouldn't you be able to live there comfortably with your own piece of it at an affordable rate? Not one that's going to cripple you and keep you financially deprived for the rest of your life. Why can't all areas people go, but you live off grid. So, of course. But yeah, I do. But what do I not have? I have electricity provided not by our government, not by burning any fossil fuel, not by hurting or damaging the place in which I live in any way, shape, or form, but taking from the sun. And the wind is going to be added soon because we've got so much around here. It's a wasted resource. You understand what I'm saying? Like everybody else is worried about saving. No, I'm worried about saving the wind right now for myself. Okay, but why? Because it'll provide me. We all are, again, like Alex said in the beginning of this, when I was we're lucky enough to have him on here with me. We look for those little handouts. We look for those things from them to keep us hooked. And the internet and services and phone services and all that's part of it. Believe me, if that is my biggest expense off grid, that's including my house payment, my land payment. Okay, like my biggest expense is satellite internet. Satellite internet. You figure it'd be cheap as shit. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I only get like 100 megabytes or whatever the hell they sell that shit in, and because again, I'm technically retarded. But I pay almost $300 a month. Almost $300 a month for that. And then my cell bill pulls on in there at about $2 something. You know, but isn't that ridiculous? But I've entered that contract. I entered that voluntarily. Why? Because it's something that I believe I don't need, but benefits me. And that's what it is. People go, well, you know, you only say you live by your needs. You don't have wants. Well, that's a want. You wanted a cell phone. No. It adds to my value here. The internet adds to my value here. Even television does. As little of it as we watch, it adds value. What? It's 90% of the time just white noise. Just a reminder that there's something out there besides a coyote or a mountain lion or a bobcat or a javelina. Something out there. It's also something to keep on to piss you off, because let's face it, every TV commercial out there makes me mad when it comes down to pharmaceuticals. And they have free reign to brainwash and make you worry that way too. When we realize that every tool every tool of propaganda and subliminal brainwashing is used upon you on a constant daily basis, I wish I had that. I truly wish I had that talent like the government has. I truly wish I could have you understand and believe that there's a better way. I wish I could truly have you understand and believe that freedom is at your fingertips and your grasp and your responsibility to embrace and take. Then you can, and we can achieve some liberty in this country. And everybody will be able to pursue the happiness in which they choose, because each one of those is individual. That's one thing Larry Sharp, had said to one time, he says it a lot of times, don't get me wrong. But when he said it one time, pursuit of happiness is individual. Like your pursuit is different than mine. That opened up another whole thing in me. That opened up such a whole nother thing in me. It really did, because I understood at that point in time that all the activism, all of the plans to change things, like the Walk for Change, when I started that. And I have really zero ill feeling about it any longer, other than the fact it was something that I didn't complete personally, because it was my mission. It wasn't even the mission of these other people. It was my mission, and I didn't complete it. And that's something I live with. But it was a march for liberty. It was a march for us. It wasn't just about cannabis, man. It grew so exponentially within me as I traveled the country and spoke with people, and whatever direction they've taken it in, they can have it and they can do it, because unfortunately now I can't. Would it have been beautiful to walk from one side of the country to the other and arrive before the election and be able to say, no, listen, man, I just walked across this country and spoke to millions of people. And this is how we feel, man. And can we do something to make this happen? That was my plan. It's something, again, that eats me and burns me every day, that I didn't complete it, because I can blame everybody all they want. This was my mission. They joined in. So that realization and that pill to swallow is a hard thing sometimes. Why? Because how many libertarians I met along this journey? Because again, it started out as a march for cannabis freedom. That's what it started out as. And the more and more that I understood that we can't make these changes unless we get into the political realm, that will never make a difference unless our voice is heard in a place where it can make a difference. And that's why, again, I implore you all to look to your local organization, look to your local areas and become a part of something. If it's your school board, if it's your city council, you start and then you have a voice. Just don't conform, man. The one thing I can say is that every politician I've ever ever seen has fallen to the ring of power. There hasn't been anybody that's wanted to throw that son of a bitch into Mordor yet. And I wait that guy. It's why I backed Kokesh in 2016. Honestly, the main reason I backed Adam was I believed him, man. I've sat with. I mean, I still sit with him. You know, I consider him a brother. You know, a young brother, but I consider him a brother. And if he had the opportunity, that's one person that would literally throw the ring in the fire. Okay, other people have said it, and I believe them, and you know to an extent, and others like want to melt half the ring, you know, like or a portion of it. But I think that you can't be happy with just shooting somebody in the toe. You know, the whole act has to be carried out. And is it scary for some? I'm sure it is. But if you understood, I went to thefreedomline.com, www.thefreedomline.com, and listen to the audiobook Freedom. Adam, I'm giving you a free plug, brother. Not for any other reason, but for people to understand a model of localization, okay? They don't have to agree with everything you say in this, but to point out so many of the wrongs that could be corrected with eliminating this federal, blanket that's more than a weighted blanket. It's a suffocation device, just like the one that diaper they make you wear on your face or try to mandate you to. Okay, so just take a look, listen to the book. I've listened to it many times. Again, there's Adam. The thing about Adam and my relationship is that we don't agree on everything. We don't. But he listens to everything I got to say, and I listen to everything he's got to say. And do we make sense to each other? Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we make sense to each other. But again, he's got his, he's got the Garden of Freedom, gardenia. He's got that. I've got Mother Nature's den. And that's the beauty of it. Why? Because both communities truly live, frankly, almost the same on a voluntary premise where one person does at least own the property, so it's their entity. But you're more than willing to share in it and help and become a part of it. I have no problem again sharing this beautiful experience. Like today my plan was to finish building my greenhouse. Okay. Because why? Because the nights still are just a little bit chilly. And, if I had my greenhouse, I'd be sustaining and using the heat and stuff from the earth to keep everything warm. And my seedlings won't die if my dogs wouldn't eat them anyway. But that's a whole nother story. But they wouldn't die. They're not going to die never. But it's so windy out there today. I mean, thank God it's finally stopped. During this show, I haven't heard my house getting rammed by 60-mile-an-hour gusts and a constant steady blow of 25 miles an hour. And listen, I weigh 135 pounds, folks. You walk outside that door and you take that turn, and it's got that alleyway of where the wind blows on through from the frickin' southwest, and it hits me in the chest, man. And literally, man, it sends me backwards sometimes almost. Yesterday, again, Helen and I went to Kingman. Well, part of the supplies we bought were some OSB board for the bathhouse to finish off the outside of the bathhouse, and as well as some sheetrock. Not to mention the 3,000 pounds of cement that I lifted. But that's besides. But the sheetrock and the boards, I'm trying to take them off the freaking roof of the car. I mean, literally, almost was like a parasail. That I had to put them down, stand against them, my shoulder against it. It was hilarious. If somebody videoed it, it would have went viral. But you got to keep going. We got to keep moving. And these are the challenges we face. But we do them, and why? Why? Because that's what freedom I chose. That's the life in which I find beneficial. It's all right. In 56 years, I woke up watching commercials of a bear with a shovel and a hat on. Tell me, listen, man, we're burning the shit out of our country. Can we stop setting fires? You know, and then, you know, we had an Indian who would cry at just the sight of litter on the side of the road. You know, not, they aren't looked at that same way anymore. They aren't. You know, we've taken that. Hey, listen, let's be responsible and let's not catch our world on fire. Into, oh my God, that millions of people are dying, and and the fear, and the fear is real. You never seen one of them fires coming at you. You don't have no idea what you're talking about. They're especially out here. Okay, out here, a little cigarette ash. You know, you can destroy someone's world because everything is so dry. But instead of being teaching the responsibility of that, or stressing the responsibility of how it's your responsibility that this doesn't happen, you know, we impose the fear of what happens after people are irresponsible. Again, no solutions to these problems. No, here's an answer to what we want to do. Here's an answer to how we overcome these hurdles. You know, and we have so many real things and so many just legitimate everyday existence issues in America that we don't have time to convolute them with all of the bones that they try to make us chase in the mass media. Because while we're chasing all the things that don't affect our life directly, and that we're worried about this, that, and anything, and again, worrying about the future, something that may happen that we don't even know is going to happen, we ignore what's going on right in front of us. That affects us every breath that we take, because there's no break from it. I've heard news of a fourth stimulus check coming out. I mean, why don't they just do away with work and just start stimulating people constantly to buy all the mass crap that they got? But then again, who's going to make it? We ain't got to worry about making it. They'll make it in China, and we'll buy it from over there. Let's become just the total laziest society in mankind, and sit on our asses and get rewarded for existing and not trying to make the positive, correct changes that can actually do us some good in this country. Pete, what's your solutions? My solutions are to do and to take control and to understand that your community is more important than anything. And start there, and don't worry about what's going on everywhere else. Because if your community's running fine, don't worry about somebody else's or what they do there. You don't live there because you like it where you are. Leave it like that. You know, people want to embarrass themselves in Oregon, lighting buildings on fire and acting a fool in a muck. Go ahead. Go ahead. Stay there, all of you burners, and burn away. You know, whatever you're fighting for. There's no legitimate reason to damage someone else's property to make a statement for what you oppose or what you feel have been ill or wrongly done. There's none of that. There's no walking into a building and shooting innocent people. That is just, or that you could be justified in doing just because you're pissed off. But if you want to live in an area where, you know, that's just what people do, go ahead and live there. If you want to live in the city where there's easy entertainment and eclectic food and culture, and, you know, again, I don't have nothing against it, against the place. I just don't want to live there. But if that's where you want to live, and for convenience and things like that, then fine. You know, you don't want to be like me and have to drive 45 minutes to even get to town. You know, don't do it. Don't. But that don't mean that you live the right way. Again, I don't say I live the right way. I live the right way for me. Individual decision based upon every instance that I live amongst being voluntary, me understanding my rules and regulations in which I've got to provide and stay by, and vice versa. Those that attend here have rules and regulations in which, I've set up. Why? Because it's my piece of property. You can be as free as you want, but just don't, act a fool, run amok, and, respect everybody that's alongside of you. And I really don't think that that's such a hard thing to ask. And so far, I mean, we've been lucky. We've had, I've got 3 trailers out there right now. All good people, all from different areas, all sharing stories, what's got them doing what they're doing. When we get older, we should be able to experience that. If you've never had the opportunity to drive across the United States of America, I don't mean just driving across it. If you don't have the time or the resources or any of that to explore what's around you and what's around us. If you haven't had that opportunity, man, I tell you, please find a way to do it. Find a way to embrace this majesty of a landmass that is supposed to be here for us to convey ourselves freely as we choose from place to place in existence, and things like that, have to be, like put away for a minute. Like, screw the every year trip to Disney. I mean, the break is good. Stay homes are better. But like if you could save all that money and all that resource and all that, and all of that, if you could save all of that until you were at an age like in your 50s, where 50s is definitely, man, it's the best times of your life. I hear people all the time get worried about becoming 50 years old. And I'm like, how could you be worried about becoming 50 years old? It's been the best times of my life. It truly has. Like I say, appreciate so much more, man, than I would have when I was young. And that's why I'm saying, if you get this opportunity to drive this country, and I mean drive it. I'm not talking about flying it and landing in places and then and then leaving places. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is driving this country and being able to stop and see all of the different places. And you'll find your home. You will find where your home is. Now, it'll more than likely find you. When Helen and I started our venture off and on the road, really started in 2016. We did stop for a little bit, a while, but we did during that trip. We found Arizona. Like Arizona found us. We ended up back here 6 times, during the course, and every time we drove through here, every single time we drove through here, it became home. Or it called to us, to join it, and understand that this is the way we wanted to live, and we found it. But all of the places we've got to see, all of the people we've got to enjoy and meet, we've met some incredible humans, and seen the way they live, and appreciated that. But again, that's their freedoms, and I live mine. Well, guys, listen, it's been about an hour. I'm sorry about my guest, Alex, tonight. I'm going to get Alex back on another week. Once I get the streaming thing figured out, I'm going to get in touch with the company today and see if there's something that can do me better. But until next week, I'm your host, the Voluntary Option, Pete Yapel. Again, live the freedom in which you choose to live. I say that at the end of every show because it is individual, folks, and it's something you need to embrace. Become involved in the Libertarian Party. Across the bottom of the screen, a whole time there's been the LP.org. Please visit the LP.org. Get involved in your county. Get involved in your state. Okay, do that. That's how we're going to make the difference. That's how we're going to make the changes we wish to see in the world. As Can We Talk, we always say we live the change we wish to see in the world, and the only true way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So let's not forget about anybody. Let's not leave anybody out on the, out in this cold or out hungry. If you can help, lend a hand. Okay, folks, till next Wednesday night, we'll see you then. Peace. And it'll take a while for my broadcast to end again because of the lag and the thing. I'll just leave you enjoying some cannabis.